Greetings, everyone. This week's review will be Batman and Robin. Of course, I'm talking about old bat nipples. But R.I.P. to the late Joel Schumacher. Although this was not one of your best films, but one of your best films. But I give you an A for effort with your Batman, with both Clooney and Kilmer. Which today I'm going to focus on Clooney because this one I had to say was totally not Batastic. I mean, of course this one will not be a 5 out of 5, but later on it'll be. At the end of the video I'll try to give my review, give my take on that. But at first, I'm going to say a lot of the pros in this movie was the action scenes, though they were comical but panned and critically panned. But I gotta say, it was an excellent nod. Kind of when you think that you try to take the campiness of Adam West Batman and try to bring it to the '90s. I'm just like, leave it in '66 where it belongs. Stuff like the the bat card and the hockey game, the bat hockey moment. Man, that would have been fitting for Weston Ward, but not Clooney and O'Donnell. And this is one example of star power does not automatically mean it's gonna be good. I mean, I kind of a little disappointed that Kilmer was kind of just too much of a dick to come back and all, but come on. Clooney, he made a good Bruce Wayne, but he was a terrible Batman. He made, worst live action Batman to date. No, he did a okay job, and at least he didn't have to. At least that uniform didn't have those cheesy shorts and all that Ward had to wear. I mean, what were those comic writers thinking back in them days? Of those really short shorts and all. I mean, and Alicia Silverstone at the '90s, he was at the top of your game, but and that actress, but as a Batgirl, I'll give you an A for effort because you did a good job, but out of the top three live action Batwomen so far, although you was the least comic accurate. I mean, that's where they messed up the first time, was they retconned her as Alfred's niece, but in the alternate deleted scene they tried to say it was like the child of Alfred's ex who married his best friend, blah blah blah, in a deleted scene. But Alfred's uncle being Alfred's niece was kind of out there and all, which I was finding weird with the continuity of the Burton timeline and the Schumacher timeline, how the continuity errors of keeping Pat Hingle and Michael Goff as Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, though they did a good work, were some of the best performances of said characters and all, but still continuity error. And it would have been better if they at least made Batgirl a little bit comic accurate, where she's the daughter of Commissioner Gordon who took the mantle because her dad wouldn't let her join the academy and all. Because Gordon relies on Batman so much, because even as commissioner he couldn't keep a clean house in the police department. In the urban cesspool known as Gotham. And Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. Well, which for campy adaptation, I'd give you A for effort on it, because she's a good actress, but because Uma Thurman's a great actress, especially '90s Thurman with Pulp Fiction, Avengers, and I ain't talking about the Marvel Avengers, and later on with her magnum opus is Kill Bill, but all of course those will be for other reviews and videos and all. And then you got a bit part of John Glover as Jason Woodrue. I mean, that guy has always been a go-to guy when it comes to DC films, with and shows with like Smallville playing Lex Luthor's daddy and the villain of yeah, I'll save the Shazam stuff for the Shazam review, but Schwarzenegger, what do you expect when you hire Schwarzenegger? Of course, you're gonna get cheesy puns. That's kind of why they casted him in the first place, I believe. And speaking of Schwarzenegger, you gotta admit it's the second time Arnie and Jesse Ventura actually did a film together. Which, of course, Jesse the Body Ventura had a bit cameo as a prison guard who, at Arkham, of course, he gets seduced by Poison Ivy. And I always like a scene where Poison Ivy makes her grand entrance in that pageant deal Bruce Wayne was hosting, and back when the infamous Bat card scene, and I'm just like, until sometimes we realized that was a cover of the Coaster song Poison Ivy. Although given the vibe, they could have just used the original song. Would have been better. I mean, come on. You're gonna do and try to be 60s but 90, but in the not still in 90s. Yeah, you kind of got your 50-50 on that one. And back to Alicia Silverstone, and I'll say though not comic accurate, I'd say it was an excellent performance. Although out of the top three of the live action back Barbara Gordon's, or in this case Barbara whatever I can't remember her name in this version, but they just known her as Barbara, which I already mentioned where they should have kept her as Commissioner Gordon's daughter and all, but at least those you kind of give excellent performance from between Yvonne Craig in '66, West and Ward timeline, and Dina Meyer in the WB series. Although Meyer's version was Oracle, but still, I'd say Meyer was the better Batgirl of all three. Period. But back to Batman and Robin, and God, meant some funny scenes, and even more funny scenes when they take over and the origin of Bane. I admit personally, I think this version was better than the Dark Knight Rises version, but now I'm going to save a lot of that for the review because this was more of what Bane was supposed to be, with a super soldier, syndrome and jacked up looking, comic accurate and all. Though I hate to say, although it's a shame that the actor who played Bane died not long after. R.I.P. Jeep Swenson. Man, I gotta say, we'll talk about that funny scene where they tried to take over that Turk's Bath for Poison Ivy's hideout and all. I mean, come on. I mean, the funny scene where you had like the neon juggalos and all look like. I mean, and you know, 90s when you got neon, and this one had to be the most 90s of the 90s Batman movies. Live action Batman movies. I mean, come on. Street racing scene where the motorcycle street race. I mean, come on. Or Barbara was supposed to Jack's one of Bruce's bikes for street racing, and Dick gets on her case about it, and they both enter a street race, and of course, it's got, you ain't denying unless he had a Coolio cameo in it. I mean, talk about 90s to a T. And although till last time I saw it, which was like last night, watched it last night, and I was just like didn't notice the Clockwork Orange cosplayers in the background until then. in that scene in prior, and I'd say that street race was pretty much one of the most excellent parts of this subpar film. And come on, but the Batmobile and that was excellent. Although that scene where they had to after Freeze Rex that party and all, where after Poison Ivy makes her grand intro and all, man, I'll talk about one of the epic chases and car chases of that well, some epic jumps and all. Although that was kind of dickish for Bruce to have override controls on Robin's motorcycle and all. I mean, he could have made that jump. That would have made an epic team. I mean, the whole premise of it was about teamwork and all, and the whole twist thing of the rubber lips deal. I mean, that was just cheesy, cheesy. But what do you expect? This was not the best Batman movie ever. But had its moments out of, I'd say, other than childhood nostalgia. This movie's I wouldn't recommend it, but overall, I mentioned those. We're kind of rare use. I mean, in that one whole scene where Bane tries to get Frieza suits in the jailbreak scene, and he mentioned the old. And you look at you had to see the Easter eggs of Two-Face's suit and Riddler's suit. It would have been something if Jim Carrey at least cameoed in it as Riddler. I mean, kind of like I read that they were supposed to do like a third one if it didn't tank, where it was supposed to have. I think it was rumored I read in a Streaming article once about how Sarah Michelle Gellar was supposed to have been Harley Quinn in a upcoming sequel, but good thing that scrapped because that was nothing against Sarah SMG and all, and I think she would have made a good Harley Quinn, but the way the rest of the movie tanked, that would have been the high point of that movie was just that would have been that would have been that scrap sequel was, but and of course, and surprisingly, I'm surprised they didn't. Where he messed up was not making Bruce's love interest in the movie not a pivotal part in it, which like the other three movies in both the Burton and Schumacher timeline were had a pivotal part. Like, of course, would be for other movies, like in all reviews and all, and of course, you got with which on first she did a good job. Although they wish they gave her a bigger role. I mean, could have did that whole made her a generic damsel in distress when after freezing Ivy plotted for their death ray and all after the telescope and all, and of course, man, and what about a cheesy plot? I mean, for environmental awareness and all, after which is whole Ivy's MO. I'm like, who really wrote this? Al Gore. Overall, yeah, I would say as a 2 out of 5. I'd give it 1 if it weren't for the childhood nostalgia, but two's fair enough for those just cheesy nipples, just cheesy subplots, so on. Enjoy.